So, Lisa, do you have one that has the goals on it? I thought that we were supposed to look at one of the goals in this session. Am I wrong about that? Yes. Okay.
I think I have 3 slides. So this is the first one. The second one that I'll help you with notes on. And that's the third one.
Yeah, I guess I thought we were going to look at the 2 goals and see if they make it through the lens of racial social equity.
That's correct. So this is the first goal you're looking at.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So I'm going to assume we have everybody. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
When we look at this first goal, and, I'll take notes, but just, go ahead and let's act like we're sitting in a room together and just speak. So creating the response team, you heard that for the mental health crises, substance abuse. What do you think of the city's approach, and do you have recommendations? Is there something that needs to be said that isn't being said, or let's just go for it? And with the lens of racial social equity. So we can't forget the race piece in all of this as well, because that would be the center of discrimination. So does anybody want to start with some feedback, and I'll take notes?
Well, I mean, maybe it's kind of obvious, but in terms of the race piece and the ethnic difference piece, to the extent that this response team could be made up of folks who reflect communities of color, that would certainly be helpful, right? So. I know this is a pilot program, but I would hope that within those constraints of hiring, we can try to identify folks of color who we would train to serve in this role.
It's a great comment. And does anyone else have something to add, or another aspect that?
Well, I think this is Norm. I think what is critical, we know that every community has their demographics on the type of calls that will be going out no matter what race, creed, or color. I think it's imperative that we get this information so when they're doing the hiring and stuff, that we get the correct people in these areas for language issues, race issues, and all that have to go with whatever community we're dealing with, because the demographics will vary from, let's say, Daly City to South City, Brisbane. And I think that's critical to make sure we put the right people in place. And I think the other critical part, which is not a racial thing, is hopefully hiring the person, because I happened to watch a city council meeting that night, and the gentleman who's heading up this program with the recruitment said, elaborate, this could be a tough thing. And that 6 month that Mike Futrell stated, maybe hopefully hindered or pushed out. I hope not, but that's my only bit on it.
I just would jump in here and say I attended the last meeting of the work group, and you're right, Norm. They're concerned about recruitment right now. And of the 4 cities, all 4 of us were saying that we wanted a bilingual Spanish speaker. And so the recruiter was saying that, they're not sure they can give all of us the diversity that reflects our community, but they're very sensitive to that and are really going to try. And one of my suggestions is that we try to recruit locally as well. So as soon as they get that job announcement organized, we want to get it out to our community and do e-blasts and all the normal things we do to promote things. So we will definitely try, and it'd be great if it was a local person who knows this community. That would just be great, but apparently it's tough to fill these slots for the county.
Has there been, Mike said something about 360 calls a year. Chief, did I hear that number right?
So yeah, you did, but it's different. There's 360 calls where we have placed someone on a 5150 hold. There has been more than 360 calls where we're dealing with someone who is having a mental health crisis or has mental illness. So the calls will be more. Those were specifically the calls where someone called about a welfare check on someone who was having a mental crisis. I think we're definitely going to be able to keep this person busy. And it is unfortunately going to be times when we had a call Saturday morning. That would have been great to have someone. And if you look at the times that we have this person there for the 40 hours, we're not going to always hit that and get lucky with have them there. But what I think we're going to do is we're going to be able to find, there are a lot of calls that start out a certain way, the way they're dispatched. And it's not until you really start talking to someone who is having issues and is having a crisis. And they may not even be someone that is eligible to be 5150 because they're not a danger to themselves or a danger to others. But there's someone that definitely needs some guidance and some, help with services. And that's where I'm hoping, where those calls that come out that don't look like the call, so the clinician is not there, but the officer is through training with the clinician will recognize, hey, this is perfect, and get that clinician out there. So, I mean, the goal is to try to keep them as busy as possible.
Got it. Well, thanks a ton for that information. Do you guys want a cheat sheet and look at our two goals at the same time? So that way we get them both done.
Sure.
Okay, so
I call that being efficient, not cheating.
There you go. What is the second one? To reduce gaps created by structural and actual navigation support. I should know this. I've read this already. To build trust. Oh, I see. My pictures are in the way of the other part. Okay. Identify and confirm program funding, meet and engage community agencies, bilingual SSF city staff, outreach, customer service surveys, soft launch of services with review of evaluation. Anybody have, I get the social services piece. Let's see, expand linkage and navigation support to build trust between community members and the city. What considerations, recommendation do you have with this one? So what should the city be mindful of as they're trying to launch or execute strategies for this?
One of the first things that comes to my mind is just the digital divide. So if some of these navigation strategies are largely centered around digital outlets, whether it's, internet, or email or social media outreach, or just initial external communication efforts are going to be distributed in a digital way, we're already missing, a huge number of our residents who probably are in most need of these services or this information. So I think that's one thing that the city definitely needs to be mindful of is how do we start to close that digital divide that is very much present in our communities.
That's a great comment. We deal with that in communications all the time because, we make this assumption that everybody has internet access or the machinery to use the internet. And so, yeah, some of the challenges, maybe we go old school at some point, and sometimes just got to get out there. Mm-hmm. Any other comments?
Kind of, Bill, one thing that does stick out, we look at number 5 there, develop customer service surveys to use to evaluate programs. I go, that has to be something from the get-go because just how Valerie could probably address how she said, how they gauge or study a program's reaching point. Is it getting out there? Is the message being delivered? Andrea made a good point. What % don't have the electronic means? So I think it's immediately from the start of any implementation, is your program or the outreach working? And I think you have to do immediate evaluation, not just 4 months later, immediately, how's it working?
That's good. That's a good one.
I do think it's important to be able to do follow-up. Again, not just give us a phone number, but have a connection for people. We have such a broad range of interests that have come up. But one of the reasons we really want to cement our relationship with our outside agencies in the county is to make sure when we provide referrals to people that we follow up and we say with them, how did you do? Do you need more assistance? Is there another issue you want us to help you with? So it's not just like a go out to a fair and give a piece of paper, but it's from, you know, soup to nuts in addressing inequities and making sure that the information is being received in the way it needs to be received. Again, not just the digital, not just through email or a website information. One of the things we did for census is we went out with the iPads and we then and there on the spot, we helped people submit their census forms. So I see more of that dynamic. We could have an iPad and get people information, give them information on the spot, and then call them back and make sure that they have connected with the appropriate agency or person and call that agency and make sure they've connected. This might take a while to get going, but it's really important to look at both ends. Just the referral will not do it. And I know that Kayla asked about a baseline of services for the navigators. We'd like to work with community on that. I mean, at this point, there are probably so many needs. We can start little, small, and work up. Working with Sharon, some of our baseline statistics included how many community agencies that are local and important for South San Francisco do we need to reach out to and get connections and training with. So it's just some basics or just the statistics on neighbor engaging conversations with HOPRA and other community organizations and churches, listing a whole list of partners that we want to reach out to and work with community to really make their lives easier and more part of this community and much more successful than what has been, you know, COVID is very difficult. And I think that we have an opportunity to really support people in their lives in this particular project.
That's awesome.
So I had a question. I may be confused, but is this program related to when we were talking months ago about the promotores, promotoras?
Yeah.
Is that what this? So if this grew out of that concept, when was introduced just through here on the commission with that approach, I had in mind that here are some, that sort of the success of that model really rests on the abilities and sort of who these people are, right? That these are people who are, you know, tapped into the communities. They are people who, you know, talk about building trust. These are people who ideally have already built up trust with communities that we're trying to reach. So, so I want to make sure that we're talking about recruiting people who already, you know, have sort of this connection with the communities that were you know, that are impacted here. So I just want to kind of make sure that I'm thinking about this the right way. And if I am, then like when I look at number 4 under the implementation actions, where it says implement outreach strategy for informing community about the navigators. Well, it's sort of like, you know, that almost assumes that the navigators are not really, you know, part of the community, but if they are, then they're going to actually be integral, right? So it's sort of a cycle. The navigators are coming from the community, communicating with the community, and then back to the city